I think if they move in together, there will be a high chance that something will go on.
It is okay for you to verbalize that you don't think this is a good idea.
I have been long distance with my partner of 5 years for a little over a year now. He moved for work. He's the most amazing partner and definitely my penguin. In the last 6 months, he has made a good female friend at work. I've met her quite a few times. She's lovely. We get along very well. Recently, both my partner and his female friend have had to have a change in living situations, and he has asked me if I would be comfortable with them becoming roommates. He does everything to try and make me feel comfortable, and he won't move in with her if I don't want him to. I do trust him and her completely, but it does make me feel a little uncomfortable, and I can't put my finger on why. Is it jealousy? I do trust them both. Is me feeling weird about it okay, or am I being unreasonable and I should just let him move in with one of the only friends he's been able to make? It is hard for adults to make friends, as you know. I would love to know your thoughts.
Oh, it's so tricky. Look, yes, I do agree that people can be friends of the same sex. If you trust him, and you trust her. It's all very important, blah, blah, blah. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, I would not be saying that it's cool. I'm cool with it. You don't need to be okay with it. You can be cool with him having female friends. You can be cool with them hanging out. You don't need to be cool with them living together, especially when you're doing long distance and it's already hard.
People are going to come for me when I say this. I think if they move in together, there will be a high chance that something will go on or that feelings will develop. And I say that because you're long distance, you don't see each other, you're in a closed environment with a female that you know you get along very, they're get along really, really well. A lot of foundations for relationships start with this intense friendship. Obviously, I don't know them. Plenty of people live together as friends that don't bang, that don't hook up. Like, we know that. But if you know that they get along like a house on fire, and you can probably take a step back and say that they're both attractive people, they have great personalities, you don't have to be okay with it. And I would probably be saying no, not out of jealousy, but I would be saying, well, if there's any part of me that feels uncomfortable, the reason I say I would say no is because you have that tiny percentage that feels uncomfortable.
But you are getting cancelled for this, just so you know.
I don't think I am. I think I'm telling the truth, because even if they're never going to bang, right? That's not the important thing here. The important thing here is you don't feel comfortable with it.
Totally.
As a partner of 5 years. So I don't actually care if they're going to bang or they're not going to bang. It's irrelevant. Well, it's not irrelevant. It's pretty important. But if you don't feel comfortable with it, that's going to fester, and it's going to build a lot of resentment, and you're going to have a lot of questions and queries. And I just think it's going to create a dynamic within your relationship and within the three of you that doesn't necessarily have to be there. If you had no qualms about it and you're like, I trust them, it's great, then I'd be like, great, let him move in with his best friend.
Totally. And that's what I come back to. Do I think, and I want to be really clear because I know that this is murky ground. I want to be the really.
Yeah, anyone can be friends, whatever.
Yes, I want to be like the one that has the elevated ideas where I'm like, it's okay. Guys and girls can be friends. They can be platonic. It doesn't always mean that something is going to go on. That is absolutely the truth. And whether or not they live together or they don't live together, if they're going to cheat on you, it's going to happen,
No,
right?
I disagree with that. If you've got there's a difference with if you could bang someone but they live on the other side of the city, or if they're in the wall that is joining your wall,
and then
your
you have
bedroom,
a seedy drunk night one night, and
you're
then
walking from it's way easier in the same room. If they're walking from the bathroom and the towel, whoops, drops down and a nip comes out.
Look, my opinion is not that, okay? My opinion is not that is going to happen.
No.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't, regardless, it isn't about whether or not we're trying to figure out whether there's anything that could go wrong, right? Because I do genuinely believe if someone's going to cheat, it can happen at any point in time. You either trust your partner and you trust them in all situations that they're going to do the right thing, or there is that tiny bit of doubt. The thing here is that you've said that you have in you this little bit of you that doesn't feel okay with their situation. You're okay with their friendship. You're okay with them spending time together. But there's something about the living arrangement that really somewhere in you, your intuition is like, this is not a good idea. It is okay for you to verbalize that you don't think this is a good idea. And it's not saying that you don't trust them. It's not saying you don't trust him, but you do long distance and you also want to go to his house and feel completely comfortable when you are there because it's an extension of your home, right? Like you are also wanting to be in an environment that you feel super comfortable with and also really confident when you're doing long distance. So I think it's okay to have a conversation about it and to voice the way that you feel without being accusatory, without saying that you think something might happen, because I don't think anything's going to happen, but I understand why you feel the way you feel. And so that's okay.
Yeah, you're also going to, even if nothing does happen, which, like I don't think it's going to happen either, but that's not the point. They are going to develop a very close friendship if they live together, and you are going to have to accept that he's going to be spending more time with her than you because you are long distance. That is a really hard pill to swallow, even if it is a platonic friendship. Like it's really hard to be like, oh, you're more of a confidant, you're physically there for my partner and you're emotionally there for my partner than I am there for my partner. And I'm trying to think of Ben and I, we're long distance. If Ben said that he wanted to move in with a female friend, I would probably also be like, is it necessary? Like, is there no one else you could live with? Like, you want to be around this other woman 24 hours a day kind of thing?
I think it depends on the friend, right? And it depends on what the friendship relationship is. Because Matt lived with his best friend who's a female when we met. There was never 1 second of me that was like worried or intimidated. I've lived with guys. It depends on the friend. And I think, and this is the most base take on this, but it is true. It depends on their chemistry, I think. And I've lived with guys before and I had no chemistry with them. I had no attraction to them. So there was never ever this like threat or worry that anything was going to happen because they weren't attracted to me. I wasn't attracted to them. It was the most platonic thing ever. But I guess that's probably where the insecurity comes from. And maybe you see her and you're like, she is his type. Like if I wasn't around, maybe they would be dating, like maybe there is a feeling there that is a little bit too close to home rather than it just being totally platonic and trusting that they are just friends. I don't know. And I don't know because we're not you and we're not in this situation.
Well, I'm going to say this, not in relation to you and not to scare you, but just off the back of what you just said, Laura. I moved in with someone, a guy that I had zero attraction to. We were
Brittany's like, I fucked him anyway.
And we were banging for months. Like, yes, I moved in with him. In fact, I was unattracted to him. It wasn't that there was anything there. Like, there was nothing. And I was like, perfect flatmate. This was overseas. And we were just flatmates for a couple of months. But because you're in a closed environment, you get a level of comfort and you get to know someone on a deeper level. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying this is going to happen to your boyfriend. I'm just saying it happened to me. And I got sucked in. And then we ended up in this awkward situation where we were in this like sex, dating, purgatory, flatmate limbo where we didn't know what we were.
Hell.
Some days we'd come home as a couple and some days we wouldn't. And we'd be like, goodbye, went into our rooms and it was so awkward. But my point is that developed because over the months of living together and having dinners together and having a wine together and you get to know someone. And I was like, you're actually great. And I wouldn't have known how great you are if I didn't spend this much time with you in a closed environment.
Yeah, this is a really tricky one because I do feel differently to you, Britt, because you've lived it, you've done it, right? Now I understand where your strong feelings come from.
Yeah.
I feel differently. I think it is very, very, very possible to have a completely platonic male and female living arrangement.
No,
however,
you're making it sound like it is fuck all my friends. I've had heaps of platonic relationships and people I have lived with. I lived with a guy for 2 years in Sydney.
didn't fuck him.
Nowhere near him.
Prove it.
Never gonna. Never gonna. I've also done that. No, it's not about that. It's just about you and your feelings, and that's what's important. And
Yes.
you feel uncomfortable.
Let me finish what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that this has a real separate element to it that I think is different, and that is the long distance. Long distance, as we all know, is already really hard. You make lots of sacrifices. You have to have a lot of faith and a lot of trust in your partner.
Yeah.
You've got to believe the things that they say for it to work. The foundation of trust is so immense in all relationships, but particularly in long distance relationships. And it already is very easy to have moments where you feel insecure when you're in a long distance relationship because you don't get to have the physical affirmation all the time. You don't get to have them in front of you and have that connection. And so I am guessing that there are moments when this is hard, which, Britt, I'm sure you can attest that it's the reality of when you run a long distance relationship.
Preach, sister.
So when you add another dynamic in there, you add another thing that just makes you feel that little bit insecure, that little bit more of like, oh God, this is really hard for me, this little bit more that's a bit othering. I just think it's an unnecessary risk to take. And if that's how you're feeling now before you actually live together and him posing the question to you, it's rarely ever as bad as what we think it's going to be. I'm sure it would be fine if they lived together, but it's okay for you to say that it's not okay for you. And he's asked you the question because he wants your honest answer and your honest feedback. And that doesn't make you an asshole if you verbalize you're not comfortable with this.
Yeah, totally. And he sounds wonderful. He was literally like, I won't do it if you don't want me to. So call him on it. Be like, yeah, you're right. I don't want you to. Like he might be trying to do that reverse psychology thing.
But also you don't want to be the one that's then stuck in the middle. You don't want to be like used as the weapon as to why it's not going to happen.
There shouldn't be a stuck in the middle. You shouldn't be getting in the middle of two co-workers that are getting along. You're the partner of 5 years. So you can lay down the law if you feel that that is your law. And if you don't feel that is your law, let them move in.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
Boundaries.